Hey, 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 it's JJ Godway. So happy to be with y'all tonight. And as you can see, I'm surrounded by three amazingly beautiful and talented women. And I'm so excited to present our Juneteenth Legacy Voices of Legacy 2024 Author Showcase. Now, we have many more authors in the book, and we've got an opportunity for you to get into this year's book. It's not too late. But for now, I just want to introduce those who are here with me today. I'm going to let everybody go around the room and introduce themselves and tell everybody a little bit about themselves. All right, let's see who's up in my first corner. Miss Sheba, we're going to start with you. Would you please introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about you and what you do?
Hi, everyone. I am Sheba Simpson Amsterdam. I am a native New Yorker. I was born in the Bronx, but I was raised in Harlem. I'm an educator for over 25 years in New York City public schools. I'm currently an IEP coordinator at a high school in the Bronx. I'm an author and advocate. I ran for city council in 2021 for District 9 in Harlem. Uh, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I am a person who believes in equality for all people.
I love to hear that, Sheba. Now let me. I didn't know you were going to say you were from New York. I should have known it listening to you talk. But my dad was born in the Bronx. We didn't know that until he passed away, and we were going through his paperwork.
Wow.
But I graduated, moved there December my senior year, grew up most of my life overseas, but I graduated from Plattsburgh High School in upstate New York by Montreal.
So I'm gonna
So
tell you something. We
what's what?
when you tell us that you from Plattsburgh, that's not really New York. New York is five boroughs.
Yeah, we figured that out about 6 hours into the drive north of New York. Like, I thought, look, as a high school senior, I thought I was going to New York, man. I was so excited. No, it is like rural Texas, but cold. Yes. Anyway, and later on, I'm going to tell you my appreciation for people who do IEP work, counseling, 504, helping families get the services they need. It is such a fight and such a battle. I am super happy for what you do in the world and for the difference that you're making. Woohoo! All right, our next guest today, y'all. She is the grant writing alchemist, Miss Jackie Adkins Dozier. Ma'am, welcome to the Juneteenth Legacy, Voices of Legacy. Would you please tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, thank you so much. I'm just too excited to be here, and thank you for the opportunity, JJ. And Sheba, I'm on the other coast. I'm a native-born Californian. My dad was in the military, so we lived in 6 states, and I've been on 4 continents, and 9 siblings, 5 children, 18 grandchildren, 2 great grandchildren. So I had to put that plug in. So I've been in the nonprofit industry for 40 years, 40, last month. 40 years in the nonprofit industry, 35 years as a grant writer, and 18 years as an LLC business owner with 2 nonprofits, one faith based and one community based. And I'm excited about telling my story.
All right, all right, all right. And we saved the best for last. We got Mama Soul Wisdom, Loretta Wetzel. Ma'am, would you please introduce yourself? Actually, I forgot to give claps to Miss Jackie. She really is doing the thing. Look, everybody on this stage is doing the thing. So I guess I'm just a little, y'all just forgive me. It's been an opening day, and it's been a long opening day. And somebody did not realize that when we schedule morning tea, early in the morning, you got to be there for it. And that means you got to get up and go across town to your new office so you can broadcast. I'm used to rolling out of bed and going into my home office. All right, all right. So y'all give me a little bit of grace, but let's bring to the stage now Mama Soul Wisdom, Loretta Wetzel.
JJ, you have our grace, darling. It's all good. The fact that you are hosting this 3-day conference and you are showing up live for all of us is a beautiful thing. So I know New York is in the house, East Coast is in the house, West Coast is in the house. I want you to know Chi-Town is in the house, Midwest, So we are well represented, and not only in the U.S., but across the globe. My name is Loretta Wetzel, also known as Mama Soul Wisdom, sharing old school wisdom for a new generation. And listen, I empower individuals. Typically, they are executives, they are managers, they are high performing individuals in their positions. But guess what? They're leading a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, and they're miserable. So I empower those individuals to build assets, to build legacy by starting a business with their chosen family, biological family, chosen family, best friend from high school. The key is to start a business. That's why
Mhm.
resonate with JJ so well, because we know at the end of the day, it's what it's all about. I have over 40 years of experience in nonprofits, for profits, and so as a business strategist and a belief catalyst, my deepest desire is to bring in love and magic back to chosen families.
Amen.
Oh, and I love the phrase "chosen families."
Amen.
Yes,
Welcome,
yes,
Mama
ma'am.
Wetzel, to the show, to the broadcast, to the author showcase today. I'm so happy to have you all with me. And for those of you who don't know me, I know we're getting a lot of people, especially on our new Juneteenth Legacy YouTube channel. We're getting a lot of people who don't know me. I'm JJ Conway, your hostess for tonight, and I'm also the visionary of the Juneteenth Legacy Conference, which is very personal to me because being in the military for 23 years, being the first Black to serve as a physicist in the Air Force and by extension, the rest of the military. But the things that I went through, the things that the people around me went through, and the things that I observed often not being known to be Black unless I told you I was Black. I felt like I've been given this responsibility and this calling to help talk about these issues so that people can elevate their lives. I mean, even this morning I was mentoring someone who's getting ready to retire from the Air Force, and I'm like, here are all the things they're going to throw at you as a person of color to make sure you don't retire with your rank, and if they can mess up with your discharge so that they can try and do that, they will. Here's what's coming. But when I was coming along, nobody was willing to have that conversation because I have built my own business. Like Mama Wetzel said, I've built my own business, so you can't tell me I can't talk about it.
Right.
And since
Right.
my money is not dependent on you approving of me talking about it or you approving of me staying in my place, I can talk about it. And so that's where this conference originated from. And what we have done this year is we have launched the Voices of Legacy. We did it on a smaller scale 2 years ago when we included Juneteenth legacy speaker stories in my annual Healing My Sisters anthology, which the proceeds from that every year go to support survivors of domestic violence. But this year we decided to do our own anthology, and that's where these women decided to share their story. So I'm going to ask you all to give me a little bit about you before we get into your story. The very first question that I want to ask, and that is, how did you know you have a story to tell? And I'd like it if we could just kind of go in the same order, make it easy for me to highlight whoever's talking and stuff like that. If we could just go ahead and start off with Sheba. How did you know you had a story to tell?
I exist. I exist. I'm a human being. I'm a Black woman in America. Um, I am a foundational Black American. My mom is from Vicksburg, Mississippi, where the tide of the Civil War turned. So I know that there is fire and there is strength and there is power within me. And I know that if I'm here, there's a purpose. That's why I wrote the book. I'm on assignment, and so are you, because I'm on assignment to fulfill my purpose and do what I was sent here to do.
You can't hear me because I'm muted myself after that visceral reaction to Vicksburg.
Right? Can you imagine?
Well, I okay, grew up overseas, get in the military, get an assignment to Barksdale, drive through Vicksburg over 4th of July. Hey, where are the fireworks? And they're like, excuse you? Do you know where you're at, young lady? Introduction to the South was in Vicksburg. And guess what? I think 2 years ago, first time they ever really celebrated 4th of July, because they did not celebrate because that was not the right country. And that has been I can't imagine the strength that your mom must have had.
And still has. She moved back in 2015 when she got married. Stepfather passed away and she's still down there, and I don't understand it, but because she left when she was 16. She was here in New York for 50 years. And like I said, she got married, and I'm like, Mom, but you're really a New Yorker. But she's made a lot of strides down there, and she's made a difference in lives. So I guess, she's on her assignment as well.
Hey, you never know. Your mom might be part of the reason that when I pass through Vicksburg, I don't get the evil looks I used to get.
It might be.
Because if none of y'all ever driven I-20, you got about 3 hours of nothingness between Shreveport. You got a little bit of like Ruston, Louisiana. You've got a little bit of towns, but you got like 3 hours of nothingness, and then you hit Vicksburg, and by then you are ready for a break. But guess what? They don't want you to take a break there. So you never know what your mom might be doing. Like, I wonder to myself, why am I in rural Texas? I do not belong in rural Texas. But you know what? I'm here doing the Lord's work. All right. Thank you. I like that. She said, I know I have a story because I exist.
We all do.
And
That's right.
Did anybody else not know that?
What?
Has anybody else and I'm not being facetious, but I'm just thinking about a lot of very successful people are chasing after this. I'm not good enough. I'm nothing. I want to make myself feel better about myself. And it doesn't matter what accolades you add to your name, you still don't feel good about yourself. Like I ran the Marine Corps Marathon and still hated on myself because I was so slow. Right. I was up on stage as a finalist for Miss Veteran America, and I was like, well, I'm too fat. So I was actually looking pretty good, but I still felt bad that I was twice the size of all the young girls on stage. Right. So I've just wondered sometimes, do we even understand?
It took a long time for me to, and I hope I'm not interrupting onto anyone else's, but it wasn't overnight. I learned as a young child that I had to rely on myself. My mom was a single mother of 4. Away from home a lot, and so I was the only girl, so I had to figure it out quick. And all of this wasn't how I looked as a child, right? So I was like, I think I need to be smart, because I'm not. I think I need to be smart. So I fought through a lot of putting myself down, and here I am. I know that I have worth. And I hope everyone else finds or knows that they have worth.
I love it. And I think that's really at the core of what we do, is empowering people to be able to achieve. And it starts with knowing that you have worth. Yes. All right, Ms. Jackie. Let me ask you, how did you know you had a story to tell?
It was unbelievably difficult. As a grant writer for the last 35 years, I tell stories on paper all the time for other people. But it wasn't until I went to Georgia in 2020, I think it was. I'm listening to Camille talking to some of her friends who are the John Maxwell, Paul Martinelli, the group. And I'm listening to conversations between them. And I'm saying, what is this all about? What are you guys talking about? And they were talking about, they were dealing with an anthology and what have you. And I had 8 manuscripts about a whole lot of things. And so it was in that conversation with Camille that she said, Mom, why don't you you need to write a story for the legacy, for the grandchildren. And it was just interesting that I didn't make that connection until 2020, you would think. And then I got a mentor, Mike Kim of You Are the Brand, and he asked me this question. He said, Jackie, what makes you a great, he asked me, are you a good grant writer? I said, I'm an excellent grant writer. I'm kind of top tier, top notch, according to the statistics. You know, statistics say that one in every 7 grants that get submitted to the federal government gets funded, and that drops people down to a 10 to 30% average. And I had been batting at 80 to 100 for 34 years, or 30 some odd, 32 years, I guess, by that time. 32 years. I said, oh, I'm better than I think I am. I just write because I love putting words on paper and creating stories. But I didn't tell mine. So Camille bought me the book and asked me to start writing about mine. And my Kim says, Jackie, you need to write. What is your method? Why are you so much better than the average? I couldn't even tell him. I'd never thought about it. I just do what I do. And so he was the one who put me on the road to figure it out. Why I'm as good as I am. And so I wrote the book. And so I have that book now. And I'm still working on the book that I need for legacy for my children, because some of them, JJ is sad to say, now that I'm getting closer to them that have been in Houston, my children didn't fully understand what I did. Because, I just go to work. It wasn't all this.
Mhm.
Even though I had social media, you didn't talk about a whole lot of stuff. You go to work, you come home, and you be the mom. And so now, as a result of telling the story, and it may come up later on, I've got family members generationally who are now business owners.
Ooh, all right. I love that. Generationally now, business owners. Hey, let me tell y'all something about these kids. My boys, both of them, have sat through all of my classes, because when I started teaching people how to get out of debt, and I started charging for it after I became a broke single mom after the divorce, $800,000 of debt. And so that big one, he should be able to teach Dave Ramsey policies, mom's policies, Larry Burkett's policies. Like he should be able to teach all of that stuff. And that boy still makes dumb financial decisions. And I'm like, look, I know you have been sitting at my side in classes once or twice a week since 3 years old, and you are 18. But you know what? People gonna do what they gonna do, especially hard-headed little boys who grow up to be hard-headed big boys. I love them though, I do. So I'm in a different season of life where I'm still trying to sow that into my children so that they'll have something to sow into my grandchildren that I don't want to come anytime soon in case Philip and his girlfriend are watching. I feel that my time is escaping me to pour into that generation. And then I think to myself, okay, well, I did the best I could. With Philip. Sometimes you just do what you got to do. And sometimes you just don't make the right decision, but you make the best decision you know how to make in the moment that you make it. And so then, you just got to trust the Lord to come in and clean all that up and take care of it and give me wisdom for the next group.
And don't forget the developmental issues. He's at that stage right now where his brain is still developing, but you're putting the seeds in, and just wait. Just give him about 4 more years, and you'll see a different attitude about money in the whole 9 yards. It's a developmental issue because you're giving him the tools.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you now. Look. When I went, and he said in a lot of those financial planner classes, that's when I never mind. We're not gonna go down that road. I'm gonna let Mama Wetzel talk about Mama Soul Wisdom talk about how she knew she had a story. Because I get started on these tactics of the rich and the things that they're doing that the poor work hard to try to get done, and they just lie about it. Whew. Anyway, because I want to be the rich one day. So I don't have any odd against the rich, but some things. And a lot of it comes around these learning disabilities and other stuff like that. So let me stop and reset. And Mama Soul Wisdom, tell us, how did you know you had a story to tell?
Well, I will answer that question about how I knew deep in my heart. But before I do that, I have to agree with the other panelists. The seeds have been planted. What you must understand is this principle of until you train with what you know, the full manifestation of what that knowledge is supposed to be and do in your life will never show up. So
Yes.
the seeds have been planted. He just has to train with it and give himself grace, because in the beginning, he's going to suck at it and it's okay. But just have him keep training with that principle, keep training with the little things. And then soon he'll be able to train with the big things. So until you train with what you know, the full manifestation of what that knowledge is supposed to be and do in your life will never show up. So just let him train. He's this. Now, how did I know I had a story to tell? It started when I was a little girl. You see, one day when I was in elementary school, it was super, super early in life. My mom sat me down in the kitchen. I'll remember because I was so young, and I don't even know if I was in full day school. But my mom told me something that impacted me for the rest of my life. She says, "Baby," she says, "there's something I got to tell you." I said, "Well, what is it, Mom?" Because she looked so serious. She said, "We love you in this household, and we always will. But I must tell you, when you go out into the world, you're going to have two strikes against you. Number one, people aren't going to like you because you're a girl, you're female." And I'm like, I didn't understand, but I'm listening. And then the second thing she told me, and she used the language of her generation. She said, "People won't like you because you're Negro. And you got to know this." That conversation very early in my life prepared me for Black excellence. Because she told me, she says, "Look, when you got in the world, you got to outperform. You must excel. When everyone else around you is getting B's, you must get A's. When everyone else is getting A's, you must receive A plus. And you must excel." So the idea of Black excellence has carried me through my life. And I knew I had to share that story. Now, why is it that other people, our African American people, our Black people, our people of Caribbean descent, what is stopping them from sharing their story? I love what the young lady said. She said, "Hey, I have a story because I exist." We all have stories, but we're not sharing them. And part of that has to do with your identity. It all starts there. What makes up your identity is your belief system. So if you don't believe that you're good enough, if you don't believe that you were born on the wrong side of the tracks, if you don't believe that, if you believe something other than you're brilliant, you're beautiful, and you have a God given gift to share with the world, if you believe something other than that, you're not going to share your story. So it's up to us to lead by example and show the way. Like, you have a unique gift to share, and it's not my gift, it's your gift. And it's up for us to shine our light so we can lead by example so others can also share their gift as well. So that's when I knew. I'm a shout it to the rooftops, y'all. I'm shouting it to the rooftops. Anybody want to listen? Come on, because we gonna do this thing.
Come on, because we gonna do this thing.
Do
Well,
it.
I got to tell you, when I first got started with when I first got started, I lost my broadcast. Hopefully, y'all can still hear me. When I first got started with writing, one of the things that I discovered is I had a whole lot to say, but I didn't really have a story that was going to impact millions. I had a lot of angst, and I had a lot of venting, and I had a lot of snippets, but I didn't have anything that was going to help people move in their life from point A to point B. And I think that was, one of the hardest parts of my journey of being able to tell my story was learning how to tell my story in a way that benefited others instead of just being something I wanted to say. If that makes some sense. Hey there, B1 all the way, y'all. All right. Good to see you, brother. So when we think about that, oh, wait a second. It sounds like we have another speaker that joined. Hey, oh, y'all. This is totally my fault. I have no idea how long she's been here, but she has been waiting in the wings, and I just now scrolled down and saw it. So we're gonna bring one more speaker to the mix before we go and ask our next question. We're gonna give her an opportunity to tell her a little bit about herself. And I do appreciate this next person coming to the stage because she has spoken at my events since the very second event that I had in Kingstown, Virginia, when I was still trying to figure out what I was doing, and we just kind of threw things together. And then there was a freak storm, and this happened and that happened, and I had this world-class billionaire speaker coming and like 10 people in the room. And one of those people has now come to our stage. Monique, welcome to our author showcase. Please tell everybody a little bit about yourself and about what it is that you do in the world.
Wow, I'm like, I forgot about that. It's been so long. I think at one point, I think I was holding the baby. We've come a very long way. So good evening, everyone. My name is Monique Toussaint. I am a career and executive coach and the president of my...
Hold on, you went mute.
Okay.
Try it again.
Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Yes.
There
Can
you
you
go.
hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
And so I like to provide spaces for executives and aspiring executives to build their businesses, to work on action plans primarily. I like to say, if you have an idea, I have a plan. And so I am credentialed and love to just help people do what they want to do. And so if you got it, I got you.
That's good.
If you got it, I got you. I love it. I love it. So we have talked a little bit about knowing that we have a story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I was leading up to was kind of the journey of our chapters. And I was kind of talking about my journey as a writer. So for those of you who don't know, I've published 13 books. I've got 3 others that are in some semblance of outline and draft. And then I've got like 40 others in folders that are like snippets of ideas that come to me. So I think I'm going to be writing for a very, very long time. But one of the things that I discovered early on as a writer is that writing the book is not just writing the book. Even if you're in a book anthology where someone else is doing the heavy lifting of the editing and the publishing and the distribution, there's still the fact that writing the book is not what makes you the money. It's marketing and selling the book. So I want to remove money from the discussion today. Of course, we want to make money in whatever it is that we do. Of course, we want to have an impact. But I would like for us to talk tonight a little bit about the journey of writing, of no kidding, putting the words on paper and having to look at those words and realize this is really my story. This is really what happened. This is really what didn't happen. And this is how I'm moving forward.
Well, I'll happen. I think for me, the hardest challenge was trying to figure out. I had a lot to say and wanted to make sure I can give people information that they can walk away with without having an opportunity to engage with me. So in my chapter, Unlocking Your Business Brilliance, what I've found in my journey across these years is that people want to have a business. They want to do the things. They just don't know how. And it's less about their passion and more about how do I connect their passion to a process and a plan to get them there. And so for my chapter, I like acronyms. They make things easy to remember. And so I was like, okay, let me find an acronym and let me find the most important things that they need to know to be able to walk away from this chapter with something tangible to do. So if you want to have a business, like something as simple as, so my acronym is Bloom, right? Build. What is your business plan? How do you build a foundation for your business? Leverage. How do you leverage the resources that are already out there, the free stuff on the SBA websites? How do you operationalize it? You know, how do you optimize it? And how do you market it? Because part of it is like, you can have a great business, but if no one knows that it exists, like, how do you do the work? And so for me, I think particularly with this chapter, it was just making sure that I gave people tangible tools to do the work, because the passion will get them there, but they need a process to make sure that it's productive and profitable.
I like that. Productive and profitable. I would that I had learned back in the day that it's not just about being getting things done. It's about getting things done that lead to profit. And I talk, some of y'all are nodding your head, so I'm sure you've done like I used to do back in the day, where I would rearrange everything on my desk. And then I would decide I needed a new motivating color scheme, because, you know, turquoise is the color of love. So now I need to make everything turquoise. So now I'm going to make sure all my desk stuff is turquoise. And then after I finish doing that, I learn about purple. So I'm making a facetious example, but y'all know what I'm talking about. We get busy doing, and we look at our accomplishment, but it's not really, it's an accomplishment, but it's not really an accomplishment. We don't cross the list off our to-do list. We crossed an item off our to-do list, but we haven't made any money. We haven't impacted any lives. We have not moved forward. So I love that. I love that. How did you say that? Profitable and productive? Productive and profitable?
Yes. You want to be productive and profitable. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And we can measure that productivity. Sheba, go ahead. Oh, I thought you had a comment. I'm sorry. You were just agreeing with her.
I was just agreeing with what she said.
I was going to say income producing activities.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And really cutting through that.
Busy. You don't want to be busy doing nothing that's not going to be productive and eventually profitable for you. You can have a list of to-do things, but are those to-do things going to lead you to the next level, which is being profitable and productive, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we also have to be willing to address when it's not. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, like, as I'm finally, if a bear's watching, the Wealth Building CPA, my CPA, I'm finally putting together my taxes for last year, and we always file an extension for like almost 20 years now. But I'm putting together my taxes for last year, and I look at the numbers, and they're just so low. Well, I made a conscious decision to focus on my oldest son's senior year football band, all the things. And I knew that was going to come at a cost of business. And immediately the devil tested me on that, because immediately someone comes along with a 4, 5, 6 figure possible speaking engagement. And I'm just like salivating. I'm like, I can buy a lot of football games for that money, but I can't ever buy back the time. So I knew that last year was not going to be very pleasant as far as the taxes. But what I never sat down to address was the year before that. See, the year before that, the taxes were pretty poor too. And my CPA was like, we need to take some more deductions. We need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do that. And I was like, okay, well, we'll catch up on that in 2023 when we file 2023, because I waited to the last minute. So that's why we're not waiting to October this year. But in that, it was like, what happened? And sometimes and this is not just for authors, but for any entrepreneur, we have to be willing to do the digging and look and see what really happened. And I began to peel back the onion, and I began to see that, okay, I felt like I was doing this and I felt like I was doing that, but those interviews were in 2021. Those interviews were in the beginning of 2022. What happened that took away the mojo and blocked the motivation? So even though I was doing the things, I was producing the podcast. I was doing the things. I wasn't making the money. And you can go back now and look at it and see that the energy wasn't there. Don't go back and look at it. Let's just start over from fresh. But you could. But we have to be real and look at, we're going to get to your stories next, but I feel like this is important for people to be encouraged. It's okay to be like, you know what? This wasn't my best year. This wasn't my best showing. I had this, and that. And one of the things that I did was that last year, I allowed myself to feel all the feels and cry all the tears. And cry about being told blacks can't do physics, and cry about being told that I wasn't worthy to be my sister and brother. Cry about being the outcast because of my mom being a different race and her race not liking black people, her family not liking black people. Crying about this and crying about that and crying about all these different things that we just accept. And it's okay to accept it and move forward. And I teach my children, just like Mama Soul Wisdom, the world is going to have something against you. Even the little one who can pass, the world is going to have something against you because you are black. And you have to understand that and deal with it. But then how do we move forward and not have those blocks and not have those chips on our shoulder and not have those things that cause us to stop in our tracks when something else happens? And for me, I know I'm talking a long time around this. I train my speakers to try to get your story in 3 minutes or less, but I guess I'm just getting in my feels a little bit. For me, writing has been one of the most therapeutic ways to get all of that out on paper and then get the feelings out on paper. And then you go back later and you look at it and you're like, I wasn't crazy. This really happened, or this person did this, or this situation was that, or this happened, and I connect those things together and I make some really powerful books out of it. When I tell people, so I always collect stories. Everywhere I travel, I collect stories. But sometimes those stories are our own. And for me, that therapeutic release, for me, that ability to express what I can't just go scream out in public, like, I can't believe y'all are doing this to my kid because he's black. Like, all of that stuff comes out in the writing, and then it leaves rural Texas and it goes to a place where somebody else is going through the same struggles. And now they can send that sense of camaraderie. We are in this together. We are not alone.
Right.
And if I could jump in, JJ, I think isolation is one of the tools of the enemy to keep you from walking in your purpose. And if he makes you think that you are doing it alone, then it keeps you from telling people. And more often than not, a lot of what we go through is never for us. It's like, God, for real, I got to go through all of this. And he's like, no, I need you to go through it because I want to use you and your testimony to bless somebody else. And I think when we write, we get to share that. When we speak, we get to share that. But a lot of the stuff that we experience, while we are the ones that experience it, JJ, I know you have blessed people. Like, your testimony time and time and time again, no matter how I hear it, it's always like something different. It's like, oh my goodness. And so I think, one, thank you for your platform. And two, thank you for continuing to write. And even for us, like, acknowledging that, like, this is never for us, like, never, like, this is part of our purpose and part of what we're called to do and part of how we share how to get past it and to get through it. So I always remember that sometimes in the midst of it, like, this is never about me and my testimony is here for someone else. And writing is one of our ways, one, to heal ourselves and to heal others.
May I add something to that? I hear often that I'm not going through this test for myself, I'm doing it for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But I want us to really realize that, and I'm going to give you an example. I'm a mother of 5 children, had them in 10 years. And as I said before, 18 grandchildren. I don't want anybody who has never had a child tell me how to raise mine. They don't have that experience. They don't have there's a lot that comes in with raising children. And for someone on the outside to come and try to tell you what to do, I just kind of look at it and say, you go get you a few of these, and then you come back and talk to me.
And
sometimes I'm sorry, let me just finish this one thing. So sometimes we go through things Number one, because we're on planet Earth. There is an we all know about the positive and negative. There is an equal and negative spirit that deals with us. So we have to, part of our testimony and our stories is about how we made it over. It's not all about them, because I couldn't tell you with authority and authenticity about how to recover from a nervous breakdown if I've never had one. I can't tell you how to be a single mother of 5 children and take on a sister's child, 6 of them, without a job, no unemployment, and no child support. So that was to help me to realize how resilient I really am. How without the help of people, I'm an introvert by nature. People don't believe it, but I am. I love being alone. But without the help of people, none of us would be on this platform today. And so what they have gone, what JJ has gone through, JJ has been just so, she told me one time, she said, you don't know how favored you are of God. And she gave me an example. I said, yes, I do. Because I've walked through a few things myself and I know. But so what we go through you can't build any kind of muscle without resistance. You'll be flabby and everything else. You got to have resistance in our lives in order to build stamina, fortitude, resilience, all those other things. So what I learned in my life, I'm the third of 10 children. First girl had 7, only 2 other sisters and seven brothers. And so what I learned was that my dad was military. He told my oldest brother, teach this girl how to fight, because she's going to need it somewhere else in life. So I had my early beginnings. He taught me something, but I realized I have had some major battles in my life, but can't anybody tell me nothing about not going through no problems, and that you cannot make it out, and that you cannot do these things. But I did all of them, and the Lord showed me I needed to go through them so I could see the importance of why he put people in the earth, and why we are to be each other's brothers and sisters keepers and what have you, because somebody needs what you have gone through, so that they can, with authenticity and honesty, that you can make it. Because look, I did it. My nervous breakdown, the nervous breakdown I had took me 7 years to recover. But when I got out of that, nobody in this world can tell me nothing about you can't make it. I mean, I was a horrible mess and looked like it too. So we go through some things. Yes, it is for me. Otherwise, I'd be thinking I was all that in a bag of chips, because I'd never been through anything. We have to go through so that we can pull up. My final remark is, somebody gave me a picture. It was in 1982. It was about the story about the opening of the what was it, Ezekiel. And then, but they had painted a picture. It was one very strong built black man reaching down into a hole, and you could see another black hand holding onto him, and he was pulling them up. And that thing has resonated in my spirit. I've never gone through anything and gotten out of anything without the help of somebody else. Yeah. So we go through some stuff so we can continue, but it also builds faith and strength and all those other things I've ever said. So I stopped saying that I ain't going through it for me. No, I need what I'm going through so I can help somebody else. And thank you for letting me share that.
Before we get into the chapters with the time that we have left, did somebody else want to comment on that? Because I feel like we all resonate with that what Ms. Jackie just said, and with what Monique just said. And so, does anyone else want to make a comment on harnessing the power of the things that we go through?
Everything.
You gotta go. Go ahead, Sheba.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you gotta go through to grow through. To keep it short, you gotta go through to grow through. If you don't go through some stuff, you won't be able to grow. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I may not experience everything that you have experienced, but what I can do is I can acknowledge and I can validate who you are as a human being and as an
Mm-hmm.
individual,
Mm-hmm.
and to help guide you from that place of authenticity. And thank you for allowing me to share.
Well, I find. Oh, go ahead, Sheba.
No, I just feel it's easy to sit high and look low and judge people when you haven't gone through what they've gone through. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
all of us have experiences that are valid, um, that should be honored and respected. And also, we also have to be able to say, while we were going through it, maybe we did make some mistakes, that we could listen to someone who's been in that similar situation.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with, I'm not going to listen to someone who's never had children. I'm not going to listen to someone who, had help to raise their children when I had very little help, right? You find your sweet spots, and you pray that you're making the right decisions at the time you're making them, and you pray that the gifts show up in your children sooner or later. You stay on your knees and you pray, and you hope that the road, if they're going down the wrong road, that somewhere somebody they meet on that road will enlighten them, and they give them a shortcut to turn, or a U-turn to come back around. But the story is your story, and it has validation regardless of who's looking on it from the outside.
I love that. Your story is your story. And with our story, that's one of the things that I'm very, very thankful to have been gifted, is the ability to create a platform to help other people share their stories. And, I feel like there's so many, when I was writing books, there weren't platforms for me to publish. And I mean, I could publish, but there weren't platforms for me to get my message out. There weren't friendly platforms. So many of what I started off doing, and I'm sure with y'all, we have so much history in this block right here, so much experience.
Mm-hmm.
When
Mm-hmm.
we got started, people were blocking us, not helping us. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
very honored to be able to
And they
create
still
the
doing
platform.
that.
Yes, they are. But now, at least we have each other,
Yeah.
then we can work together to overcome it. And that's what this conference, Juneteenth Legacy, is really about, is like, look, let's stop pretending that everything is fixed and everything is okay and Uncle Sugar's going to take good care of us. Let us do what we need to do to ensure that our family is secure for generations. And that means learning a new way to tell our stories. That means learning a new way to manage money. That means learning a new way to invest, or learning a way in the first place to invest, learning how to overcome trauma, learning how to understand what's going on in the medical system when we show up as a woman of color. Like, I mean, there are so many disparities out there. And as long as we can get together and talk about them and learn from each other, then we can overcome it. And that's why I was so excited to be able to extend the anthology platform that I've used in other areas to the Juneteenth Legacy franchise. And I would love for you all to give the audience just a taste. Now, don't give away the farm, because we want them to buy the book, and then we want them to go to your websites and buy your stuff. I want them to go to your websites and buy your stuff, so you keep coming to my books and my conferences. So if y'all would just go ahead and tell a little bit about your chapter, tell a little bit about your story, what will they find in Juneteenth Legacy? Voices of Legacy.
So
She can step off for a minute.
Let's go ahead and go. Oh, she's back. I was gonna go ahead, Sheba. Go ahead.
So the title of my chapter was "No More Waiting: Reparations Now," and that's because I feel like I should have been a lawyer or was a lawyer in another life, because I'm a history teacher, so the history of the United States is always at the forefront of my thinking. And again, I'm a Black woman in America. Policies and politics are always all over me, right? But when I was thinking about Black people in America, foundational Black people in America, I said, why are we still waiting for reparations that are long overdue? And I thought about Supreme Court Justice Roger B. Taney, who made the Dred Scott decision stating that whether you were free or enslaved, Black people were not Americans. And that's so far from the truth. And I think that all policies in America is still based on that decision. It may be a quiet decision, but it is definitely at the forefront of a lot of policies that are written in this country, and a lot of the things that we have been deprived from. And so when I said reparations now, it's because there is a legacy of systemic oppression. And I'm going to just break it down real quick. I'm just going to break down the chapter.
Please do.
The economic injustice and wealth disparities, the educational and social justice, the health disparities, as JJ just said a little while ago, the environmental justice, criminal justice reform, and community investment. And it's a moral imperative that reparations are giving to foundational Black people. You cannot, in this day, there is no way you can have someone work for free and not be brought to court and pay what that person is owed. And so as a foundational descendant of Africans, my family and all those who look like me are entitled to that money. And so my chapter breaks down why and how we can move forward in this country, because until there is some real acknowledgement of what was done, and then an apology for it, and then reparations for what was not given and what was done in the heinous ways that was taken away from Black people in this country.
And I think for me, I'm still on the apology part of it. And people are very quick to say, well, that happened hundreds of years ago. It's not my fault. And I didn't, maybe my great great grandparents had slaves, but I didn't have slaves. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what you're doing when you don't process our paperwork in a timely manner. And you know what you're doing when this person gets the mentoring opportunities and this person's actually more qualified, but they don't because they're Black. And you know what you're doing when somebody of color makes an achievement and you're like, oh, you only got that because you're the token. Like as if it's impossible that they could actually be really qualified. Right. So, and again, this is one of those, this is one of the books that I haven't published yet, because I'm trying to actually put some research behind the anecdotes, but I'm working on a book about all the things I heard people say when they didn't know I was Black. So, you can't pull the wool over my eyes, but you have a real nice way of pretending in your own environment, so you can pretend that you don't have these issues and that you don't have any systemic racism going on behind you. But the decision making is built into the fabric of this culture and this country. In fact, with the healthcare, we'll talk some more about it in next year. We're going to spend more time talking about healthcare in Dallas, in our conference in Dallas. But I live in rural Texas now, and when I first kept going to the doctor, they kept changing my ethnicity to white, and I kept changing it back to Black because I want to be honest, right? Like I don't ever want to be dishonest. And after the third time, I said to my husband, I said, I don't understand what's going on here. I know, I was like, have you seen? And I asked because I had a really bad car accident at the end of my career. So I'm not trying to be facetious. Am I starting to get feeble-minded again? Are we starting to have some of those symptoms that I used to have? He's like, no. He said, somebody's probably trying to help you out. Just leave it alone. And I'm glad somebody liked me enough to want to help me out. But how sad is that? That your thought of how am I going to help this girl out is to pretend she's not Black. Because you already know what's going to happen when the doctor sees Black. So nurse, whoever you were, I appreciate you. But it makes my heart sad that that's how it has to be. Okay. All right. This is not the JJ Conway show. Actually, it is the JJ Conway show, but this is not my night. I want to hear about your stories. All right, Miss Jackie. Because we can talk all day about reparations, but I still feel like there has to be preparation, and I feel like there's a lot owed to us. But you could give reparations today, and and the problems wouldn't stop tomorrow because the attitudes and the lack of apology and the lack of honoring. That's my personal opinion. So I really want to have that discussion with you, ma'am, later on. All right, Miss Jackie, let's hear a little bit about your chapter.
2 years ago, I was part of JJ's Juneteenth Legacy. I listened to Dr. Jonas, and he said he deposited something in me then, and he said this: every Black family in America needs to have two businesses, a nonprofit and a for-profit. And JJ, I want you to know, I took that seed. 4 of my 5 children have a business. Both of my daughters-in-law have a business. My she's 10 years old now, granddaughter, her mom helped her start her business. My 17-year-old grandson started a business in school. He's 2 years in, has his own bank account, Cash App, and he loves the feel of money. And wait a minute, I'm going to show y'all something. I'm in his room trying to find quiet. This is what he's been doing, and waiting to get to the bank to put this money in the bank account. He started his business, and he is doing
Go on
very
ahead,
well.
young blood.
And got another job, and he's doing extra shifts. I'm sorry, y'all. Extra shifts on that job as a lifeguard this summer at a park. So my family is just, in those 2 years, everybody's just breaking out. They're just marvelous things are happening. But this is something that I was getting prepared for. When I leave here, I'm going to another live video about books. And so they asked the question, this is what it says: what changes have you seen regarding Black authors in the literature industry? And I'm going to get to my point as well. I had to do a bit of research on that, but I want to share just a few facts that'll lead into what I really want to say. It said in 2020, despite an uptick in Black representation in 2020, when there were more Black characters than white characters in children's bestsellers for the first time ever, that number quickly diminished as the Black Lives Matter bounce faded. By March 28th of 2022, we saw a surge with George Floyd. Well, the surge came after George Floyd's killing, and it saw race become bestsellers, with 2020 being the first year ever, I repeated that, with more Black characters than ever. Now, this is the piece I want to give to us for the future. They said 3.5, there are 3.5 children's books by a white author for every children's bestseller for a Black author. Only 7.64% of children's books are written by Black or African authors. Research, and I'm almost done, research do not have a large enough sample for the statistics, but let me just recap. Between 20 and 21, the percentage of Black characters in children's bestsellers decreased by 23%. 31% decrease in the percentage of children's bestsellers written by Black authors from 2020 to 2021. And Black authors write about Black characters 91.3% of the time, while white authors write about white characters 53.4% of the time, and 39.5% about non-human characters, according to the wordling.com. And when I read that, it supported a shift that I made. I wrote this book, The Sexy Model Guidebook for Confidently Writing Competitive Grant Applications. I took my 35-year experience, put it into a book so that people who are nonprofit leaders and even for-profit, now the industry has opened that for-profits can also write grants, get free money, because they're trying to revive the American economy. as well as the nonprofits. And so I'm sometimes so inundated with work till I tried pulling together a group of grant writers that I could train on the SEXY model, which is a very efficient model even today, and found out that learning new things from an old paradigm, sometimes you keep hitting blocks. I'm hitting some of those blocks. But this is what I decided to do. I'm like everybody. I have 8 other manuscripts. They're all about people. And we write so that people will have, let me put these major things that say that we write about. We record information. We immortalize thoughts and ideas. We communicate with others. And we entertain others. That's what we do with books. But I thought about the thing that's been just all in my spirit. And this is it. And I hope somebody is listening. I wrote this book because I want to help nonprofits get more money from the feds. I've written everything, including international grants, and had them funded. Been #1 in the whole nation. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Children, Youth, and Families. #1 San Diego Gas and Electric Company. #1 Cattle Parish School District. I've written all kinds of grants and came out on the top. And it's because in my scores normally are in the 90-something%. So, but this is what I decided to do. Since we seem to write a lot about characters and things like that, very little is known why HBCUs do not get the rating that other colleges and universities get. And my curiosity made me start digging. Somebody said that to me. I said, and why not? And found out it's because research grants is what gives them an additional rating, more money, and the whole 9 yards. And so, yeah, Cattle Parish, I wrote the #1 grant for their, it was a 21st Century Community Learning Center, high 6 figures. So, but unless a college or university is into researching, they're always going to get a minimal amount of money from the federal government. It seems like it was a hidden fact. I researched that, made some phone calls, talked to some other PhDs in other schools, I'm in Texas, TSU and Wiley College in Marshall, about nobody's doing research. And why aren't they doing research? Because research grants is what helps you to increase your rating as a school and make more people want to come. In the 2024, I think the article was May 24th or 23, 2024, President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris upped the ante, the billions of dollars, and they have designated HBCUs to get a whole lot of money. Billions of dollars are going to this, billions are going to that, billions are going to that, but only, I forgot how many millions is going to research. So this is what I want people to help me with. I want to get this book out to HBCUs. I want to personally teach them how to write research grants. So that, and I'm shifting my genre. I will always be working with people in the nonprofit and for-profit industry, and colleges and universities are nonprofits. I want to help them, teach them how to get that research money so that we can up the ante. Our schools can be on par with some of the other schools because Black people got brilliant minds. We were born, when God breathed into us the breath of life, in that breath, I researched years ago, what was in that breath that made us come alive? Creativity, intellect, all of these things were breathed into us. And research said that children under 5, when they were tested, they came out with like 95% creativity. That same exact group was tracked until they became adults. And by the time they were adults and out of college, they were at 5% of creativity, from 95 to 5%. So I would like, so my next chapter in the books, I want to share that with everybody else. Yes, we do write about people, but let's start writing about something like BJ. I don't know why I call it BJ. JJ has helped me so much with this financial piece. And so JJ, my grandson, he may be in the other room now. He now wants to go into real estate. So I told him, give me a few minutes. I got just the person I know who can mentor you. That's the same one with all this money in a bucket over here. He is so excited about that. But that was a life-saving piece for me and my family. Get that nonprofit and a for-profit, get involved in real estate. I already know. And the connection of people. We can't do anything without people. My issue sometimes is time. I'm overwhelmed. I don't hardly go maybe 2 days without somebody calling me about business. And then, so I'm just overwhelmed sometimes with a lot of it. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with everybody else. When we write our next anthology, look at something. If you really want the books to sell, they said most of them will sell if you use other people. So we got brown skinned people, Asians, Arabs, all those other kind of people. They will sell just as well, and it could boost our numbers up in the sales of books that were written by Black authors about people. They love talking about people and issues and things. But we there's a strategy for even boosting those. And my last line too is in my piece is about scaling. I make enough money to take care of myself. I got my children up, but I want to scale to the point where, like you, I'm going to have a problem with my CPA trying to figure out all of my income. That's my next goal. So thank y'all for being so indulgent and allowing me to share that.
Well, we're very happy to have your chapter in the anthology, and I've got my sexy guidebook, and we are getting the church to be a nonprofit, and then I finally got permission from my husband to proceed with the foundation that's going to be named both after his mother and my daughter that I lost at 5 months, and so we've got the website bot. And pretty soon I'm going to be leveraging your help, Miss Jackie, because I really feel like it's going to make a big difference in the lives of brokenhearted and traumatized women to help them rebuild their lives. So I have so much I want to say on the things, but we do want to be respectful of time, and we're already over. So I'm going to hold my comments on what you've said today. I know some of you may need to drop off, but we want to give everybody their time to shine. Mama Soul Wisdom, will you please tell us a little bit about your chapter and what you have in store for us with this anthology?
Yes, thank you so much, JJ. It's been an honor and privilege to be with you and your panelists. And my chapter is the dirty little secret that is stealing your identity. Now I'm gonna follow JJ's instructions. You got to get the book if you want to know what the dirty little secret is. I won't tell you, but I guarantee you it is stealing your identity. You heard me earlier say we become what we believe.
Yeah.
So that's a hint. But the rest, if you want to find out, you got to get the book. Now, what's in store? I truly believe the only way for any family to gain a competitive edge in life is to start a business. It is the only way that you're going to get ahead. Now, you could have a 6 or 7 figure income job and make good money. But I tell you what, I'm pretty sure you probably getting eaten alive in taxes. Not only do you want to have your family involved in business, there's so many other benefits besides the multiple streams of income. Decision making skills, public speaking skills, leadership skills, conflict resolution skills. All of that is involved in starting and running your own business. Communication skills, it is team building skills. It's all in there. So I encourage each and every one of you to consider the gift that the pandemic gave us. Yes, it was tragic that millions of people lost their lives. But if you look at the silver lining, it made it socially acceptable to work from home. That's what the pandemic. So you have no excuse. No longer is there a concern with the overhead expenses. Strong internet, a laptop, and a phone. And you can begin to work your business. And the best time to start it is when you're still working. Just develop the multiple streams of income and involve your family. If you want to know more, hey, text the word family to 312-471-1619. You will receive your family wealth blueprint, and more than happy to have a conversation with you about family relationships, how valuable it is, and in addition to that, starting your own business. So with that, JJ, I'm keeping it short, turning it back over to you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
I
Mwah.
appreciate you too. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. I can't wait to read The Dirty Little Secret. Ooh, I can't wait. This book is going to be so good, y'all. This book is so good, and already we've got so much juicy goodness in the book, and we have more speakers than what's here today, featured here today. We are going to do another speaker showcase when we get ready to actually publish the book. We were trying to publish it for today, but things happened, and we wanted to provide an excellent product. And I just realized for the long term of this recording, I probably shouldn't have said that, but I did anyway. So anyhow, we wanted to have something. We didn't want to just throw it together. You know, we wanted it to be something that everyone could be proud of and put on their bookshelf and look and beam with pride when they see it. And so we have several things. We're going to get to Monique's chapter here in a second. But one of the things I want to highlight before everybody starts to drop off is we have opportunities to not only participate in the anthology, but also to upgrade your experience by becoming a co-author on Amazon. So instead of just being part of a book that somebody else is listed as the author on Amazon, you have the opportunity to upgrade to having yourself as one of those 10 authors that are listed on Amazon. So when you click on your name on Amazon, your author page shows up with the book. All right. And any other books you've written. And then we also have a very special pricing for this anthology on having a special edition with your name on the front cover as co-author with me. There is a little bit extra work with that. It's actually a separate edition, a separate print run. So of course there's additional labor, time, and cost associated with that. But it was one of the things that someone did for me. And it made all the difference for me in my speaking career to have a book that had my name on the front cover instead of just my name on the inside as a contributing author. Everything is good. Just getting your story in the book is good. Yet if you are trying to take your speaking to the next level or your business to the next level, and you're not quite there to where you write, your own book, maybe you just decide that you don't have the time to put together your own books, but you can be on the cover of somebody else's book that someone else has done the heavy labor, and you have helped sponsor the project. I think it's a win-win. In fact, one of the primary things that I want to see is I want to see more Black authors in the marketplace. Because it's time out for people who don't look like me, who take our talent, take our experience, take our trauma, take our pain and profit from it and give us little driblets of, well, your picture's on the back cover. I'm sorry, you're making money off of my story. I should be making money off of it too. Okay, with that said, we're going to move on to our last featured speaker of the hour, and that is Monique Toussaint. I'm so glad that you are here today. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about what we're going to see in your chapter or read in your chapter.
And absolutely, I won't be long because I mentioned it earlier, and we're past the time. So my chapter is titled Unlocking Your Business Brilliance. And again, I am a firm believer in making sure that I educate, empower, and engage people. And so my chapter gives you tangible things to do in order to start a business and to scale a business. And so it's an acronym as always. If you know me, you know I like acronyms. So my acronym is Bloom. And if you want to be able to understand all the letters in there, build, leverage, organize, operationalize, and market, then you got to buy the book. Thank you, JJ.
Then you got to buy the book. All right, y'all. Well, we are going to close out our author showcase, but I'm going to do something very special after we close out our official author showcase. Because my family is away and my husband is working late tonight. And I thought, you know what? We're here. The internet is interneting just fine in this rural Texas. I'm going to spend some time talking about the process of writing and how to profit as a writer. So if that's something you're interested in, audience, go ahead and stay on. But we're going to go ahead and close out the author showcase portion so we can release our authors onto their other obligations that they have in the evening. But before they go, I want to thank y'all for being a part of this. Your stories make this project so rich and so full, and your stories are helping me achieve my goal of helping 1 million Black women to succeed with money. I'm so excited for the generational empowerment that we are making happen. Even just this broadcast, going out to YouTube, going out to Facebook, going out to wherever, LinkedIn, it's going out to my LinkedIn. Just being present, just having people who look like us talk about these issues and succeeding in life is an inspiration to others. And maybe we didn't have that growing up, but we can be that today. And so I want to applaud you for being that today. All right. I'm about to say amen. Let's pass the hat. But would anybody like to leave some closing remarks before we close out our author showcase and I roll into some teaching?
Yes. First of all, thank you for the opportunity, and please stay connected. Remember, if you have an idea, I have a plan, and it's always more important to think monumental. So I'm Think Monumental on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. I have Monumental Moments. There are minute clips of just inspirational and business tips. So thank you again for the opportunity, and don't forget to think monumental.
Thank you so much, JJ, for this opportunity. I am Shiva Simpson Amsterdam. I'm from New York. I'm a CEO and founder of I'm on Assignment, Inc., located here in New York, for financial literacy, advocacy, social justice, and empowerment.
And how can they find you?
They can find me on all social media as Shiva Simpson NYC.
NYC. All right.
Jackie
Hold on,
Atkins
Miss
there
Jackie.
because it's
Say
8
it
of us
again.
there. That's it. There's you can find me Jackie Dozier on any of the social media pieces, LinkedIn, Instagram, the YouTube, all of those, and especially through my website icpsllc.com. You'll get all the information. I help people start and fund businesses and do them primarily through the grant writing process. But find me. I'll be more than happy to help anyone get started.
All right. And I'm JJ Conway, your hostess with the mostest. You can find me at JJ Knows the Way on all social media. That's going to change soon because we're working with the amazing Pam Perry for marketing and branding. But for right now, you can find me at JJ Knows the Way. And you can also start to find my minority related issues at Juneteenth Legacy or Juneteenth Summit. One of those two keywords will find us on Instagram, Facebook, and all the things. All right, y'all. We're going to close out our authors section. Y'all take care and be blessed. All right. All right. Woohoo. Oh, this was so much fun. I'm so glad that y'all could stay on. Now, what I'm going to do for the audience, I'm going to transition. I'm going to play a little video while I transition to help me help. Wait, what do I want to say? Help me help you stay on so that I can actually no, I'm just going to go into the training. So what I want to talk about right now is I want to talk about publishing a book, because a lot of times people think publishing a book is actually what you need to do in order to make money with a book. And that's actually not what you need to do. It's not the publishing of the book. It's the marketing and selling of the book. And whether it is money or whether it is making an impact in the world, okay, it's important to do more than just write the book. And if you plan the book writing well, then you will actually be able to sell it more easily. And I am not an expert on this. I am working with other experts. We've already got our publishing name coming through. And I should have caught this comment while everybody else was still on. Thank you so much for being there today. We appreciate you. And there was another comment that came through. I love this comment too. Unfortunately, we released the authors already, but this is so important that there's so much economic power in this room, and it's so important for us to do what we need to do to make sure that some of that economic power goes to our future generations and not just going to somebody else's future generations. So thank you for being on with us today. All right, I'm going to bring up some slides, and we're going to test this out. I don't know how long this setup is going to work, but for as long as it works, we're going to test it out. And I'm going to talk a little bit about building. Now, this is from our 7-figure business building. This is our every second Thursday class. So this conference, Juneteenth Legacy, let's turn that one off. that comment off there. Okay, there we go. So this conference, our Juneteenth Legacy Conference, tomorrow night, I will be teaching my regularly scheduled Thursday night class. Every third Thursday is real estate. I will be teaching a very special session on how you can buy property without going into debt. And so on the second Thursdays, we always do some kind of empowerment as far as business building. So how can you make money writing? How can you make money with podcasts? How can you make money with live events, virtual summits, affiliates? All those things like Amazon affiliates. It's one of my most popular ones because it's free and easy for anybody to make money with Amazon affiliates. Okay. So this one was our writing class and how to make your first $1,000 writing a book. All right, so let me go ahead and make that screen big there so I can focus on the screen instead of on looking at me. All right, we're going to talk about how to make your first $1,000 writing a book. And yes, if you have ever wanted to write a book and you haven't been able to write a book, I've got a class called Finally Write That Book. So today what we're going to talk about in writing a book, we're going to talk about things not to do. We're going to talk about how royalties work. We're going to talk about press kits and interviews and book signings and all the things that we think about when we think about making money with a book. We're going to talk about how to maximize an anthology. And for those of you who came into this session a little earlier, you heard us talk about the Juneteenth Legacy Voices of Legacy anthology. That's the anthology that we're releasing every summer as part of our Juneteenth Legacy process. And what we are looking for in that anthology is people who overcame systemic racism or racial trauma or other impacts of racism related to being Black in the United States and were able to succeed despite some of those challenges. That requires a couple things. First of all, it requires that we understand that there are some challenges. A lot of us today, especially in the younger generation, don't even realize that these challenges exist. And as someone who's got a few more years on her, I feel like it is important to share that information with the next generation so that they know and begin to learn what they don't know. Now, there's a fine balance there between sharing that information and preparing the next generation versus making the next generation bitter. And so finding that balance is something that I personally stay in prayer about, because I don't ever want people to be bitter or upset about the fact of what is. I want you to be upset enough to take action, but I don't want you to be upset enough to hinder yourself because of the anger of the situation. Whatever the situation is, many of us are born with disadvantages. Some of us are born with racial disadvantages. Some of us are born with genetic disadvantages. Some of us are born in the wrong location, born on the wrong side of the tracks, born in this and born in that. Whatever happened to put us where we are in our life, a lot of times it's not even our own fault. However, it may not be our fault, but it is our responsibility if we want to elevate our lives. It is our responsibility to move forward. And moving forward begins with acknowledging here's an issue. And I'll admit, for a lot of my military career and a lot of my business career, I did not realize that these issues even existed until someone really pointed out, hey, this and this and this and this happened to me. Wait a second, that and that and that and that happened to me too. And so I used to think, and you would be surprised. A lot of people are like, well, how did you get told by the Air Force Academy you can't declare your major because you're Black? How did you get told by the instructors, my job is to get rid of you. If you'll stop coming in here, I'll stop feeding you the wrong answers. Like, how did you have the people on your job say, well, this boss likes these kind of people. He doesn't really like women and doesn't really like people of color. So we're going to have you do the work because you're good at doing the work, but we're going to put this other guy in front of the general so he can get all the credit for your work. Like, how does that happen? And I not realize it's a systemic thing. Well, we are so fed in this country, this line about how systemic racism is over, that we don't always acknowledge that it really does exist. And we're trained to think that this and that are one-off situations. And because we're trained to think that this and that are one-off situations, we find ourselves not attacking the very real source of the problem. Oh, that person's just a jerk. Oh, that person's just mean. Oh, that person's just bitter. The whole system is mean. The whole system is bitter. The whole system is against you. And so you have to figure out how to work it. But if you never know that the whole system is against you, you're not ever going to take action to rise up above it. And so some people find success despite the system, but more of us find success working around and within the system and within the legalities of the system. And that's what this Voices of Legacy anthology is all about. Okay, so we are definitely going to talk about anthologies when we talk about making your first $1,000 writing a book. Okay. All right, some things that I'm not going to cover in tonight's training, and I want to make sure I'm very clear on this because I'm not going to teach you how to write the book. Okay, I have the Finally Write That Book class, and I incorporate some of the things that I've learned from the publishing class that I mentioned here. But there's a whole structure and format and process that goes into writing a book. If you construct your book according to a set process, you are more likely to make the book a bestseller or make the book get into the hands of the people that you need to get it in the hands of to actually have the impact that you want to have. Okay. So I'm not going to talk about how to craft the book that way. I'm not going to talk about how to go to the book. Well, actually, I'm going to cover a little bit how to go to the book conferences and get your forewords and things like that, and make your connections. But I'm not going to talk about a lot of that today because those are the mechanics of publishing a book. So we cover all that in a different class. We don't cover all that in a free thing. We touch on, you know what they say. The what is free, the how has a fee. All right. So we're going to cover the overarching what it is you need to do to make your first $1,000 selling a book. Okay. All right. And now I'm also not going to cover getting a traditional publisher because for many of us who go through traditional publishers, quite frankly, we find ourselves being taken advantage of more often than not. And this kills me as a financial planner. It kills me as a financial planner to have somebody come into my office. They done spent $50,000 publishing their book through a traditional publishing house. And now they've got 100,000 books or whatever it is filling up their garage or filling up their storage shed, and now they've got to figure out how to sell all those books. Well, if you build your sales and marketing plan into the beginning of the book before you've even written the book, then it'll be easier for you to make money with the book instead of losing money with the book. So that's kind of the foundation of what we're going to talk about today, because I'm tired of people getting taken advantage of who are trying to do good in this world. I'm tired of people getting taken advantage of who have a big heart and they want to share. And yes, I know big-hearted people tend to get taken advantage of because they just want to help. But you know what? That the businesses that prey upon authors should not be successful when there's people like me in the world to be able to show you how to do it the right way. All right. Here we go. Okay. So if you want more information on the mechanics of publishing the book, you can take one of my follow-on classes, and I will give credit where credit is due. I learned a lot of what I know about publishing a book the right way after I think when I took their class, I had written 12 books by then instead of 13 or 14. But I realized I did it all wrong. And my success was not because of how I did it. My success was despite how I did it. All right. So we're going to start off with some things not to do. Okay. So some things not to do, some things not to do. If you are planning on making money with a book, and let me pause here for a second and say, not everybody who writes a book is intending to make money with the book. Sometimes we write a book for another purpose. We write a book. I've written books specifically for a conference. Like the conference paid me to write a book version for that conference. And I make money whether or not it's a great book or not a great book. That didn't come out right. I make money whether it's a big fat book or a short, hard-hitting book. I make money. I already made my money. And reality in those kind of conference situations, people aren't reading the books anyway. Okay. So I'm not going to have false designs that I'm going to change the world through this conference book. I'm going to give good content. I'm going to deliver more value than I'm being paid to deliver, but I'm going to keep my expectations in check. Okay. And one other thing that I want to that I want to say about that. If you're trying to make money with a book, these are the things not to do. However, it's okay if you're not trying to make money with the book. It's okay. My second book that I published was actually a trustee handbook. It's a church finances for it was originally called the trustee handbook when I first published it. I think today it's called finances for small churches or something like that. It's basically part of the small church series. We rebranded all my first couple of books and we made them for small churches. And because that's who it was written for. I wasn't trying to make money. I was just trying to codify some policies for my church. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. It turned out later that I make money with it. People buy it. I'm happy for that. But that wasn't the original goal. And it's okay if that's not your original goal. But if it is your goal, I'm going to tell you right now, don't design your own cover. Hire a professional unless you are good at graphics or you're very good at seeing what sells and you can duplicate that. Some people can have that talent. They can go out to Amazon, they can look at what's selling and they duplicate it and they're just fine. Others of us, we think we're duplicating it, but we're not. And I fall into that category more and more as time progresses. As I get older, I see that I'm more and more have to hire somebody else. All right. I'm also going to say, don't use novelty typefaces. Like, for a while, everybody's using that, Comic Sans, and then everybody's using the one, was it Palatino Lintype, the one that looks like ancient Egyptian text. Like, don't use those kinds of things. Study what the best books do, or hire a consultant to help you with your cover design and your title design. And when you're publishing your book in the interior, make sure you use common typefaces or embed as a graphic. Okay. You don't want to reuse an ISBN. Those are designed to be used one time per publishing version. And this one is really, really important. Don't assume the image looks good on the page just because it looks good on your computer. Okay. I'm the queen of last minute projects, and I'll do something at the last minute. I have this idea and I go ahead and do it, or I have been having this idea and I set it to the side and now I'm under the pressure to get this done before an event. And I'm the queen of doing that. But I'm going to tell you, you need to have some lead time in publishing your book so that you can make sure that you actually have it look the way you want it to look. There's a book out there. There's you can still find online. I did for a conference one time. It's called The 7 Secrets to Abundance. And I did it for a conference and I did it at the last minute, and it was a free thing that I was doing for somebody. And as a professional speaker now, I know now that you're supposed to apply your free stuff with the same level of diligence and execution that you would your paid stuff. But I didn't know that back then. And I just threw it together, and it went out on Amazon and actually became a bestseller because of that conference. But then people were like, wow, you've got a lot of typos and you've got these pictures and they don't look good. And this didn't come out right. Well, I hadn't even looked at it. I just pushed it in there and pushed it out. Well, you want to make sure you build in the lead time so you can do that. And this goes into not doing your own editing. The last thing I'll say on this, what not to do, please, 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 sir, please, ma'am, do not let a vanity publisher talk you into buying 10,000 copies of your book, filling your head with all these visions that you're going to sell them out next week, that you're going to drop your website and it's just going to sell so many books, or you're going to publish it on social media and it's going to sell out so fast. Does not usually happen. All right. So do not do this. And if somebody's smooth talking you, unless the money you're spending on the book, wait, let me say it where you can see me. Unless the money you're spending on that book package is discretionary income that you don't need right away, which, by the way, as a financial planner is the only way I want you to invest. You invest with money you don't need for your day-to-day. You invest with money you don't need for emergencies. You invest with money you haven't committed elsewhere. Unless that money for them 10,000 books falls in that category, do not fall prey to this trap. You will end up just like hundreds of other people that have come to my book classes with a garage or a storage shed full of books they cannot sell. All right. It's funny. We think that publishing book is a hard time, but it's all it takes to publish a book is money. It's all it takes to publish a book is money. Anyone with a computer can publish a book. That's easy. But you know what? It's also much easier to do it wrong. So we want to make sure we understand how the books work. Hold on. We want to make sure we understand how the book selling process works. And so the first thing in that I want to talk about is I want to talk about royalties. Okay. Basically, what royalties means is every time a publisher sells a book on your behalf, you get a cut of it. That cut that you get of the book is what's considered the royalty. Honestly, it's often nothing. It's very minuscule, and the amounts vary by publisher and the type. So if you are self-published, you're going to retain more of the profit. If you are going through a big publishing house, you might retain less of the profit. Even if you're self-published, you go through Amazon, and you publish a 99-cent book on Amazon. Okay. Even if you go through Amazon, you publish a 99-cent book on Amazon, they're going to take 40% of your cash right off the bat. And in fact, depending on your distribution, you might only get 20 cents out of that 99-cent book. Okay. So you want to make sure you understand what you're doing and why you're doing, and that you understand how the royalties work. Another thing that people hear a lot about in the book publishing realm is advances. This is where the publisher pays you a part of what they think you're going to make up front. Okay. So let's say you've got really juicy content, and back in the throes of George Floyd, back when everybody was talking about Black Lives Matter and, oh my goodness, how could this have happened? Other publishers wanted to publish my story about being told that I couldn't do physics because I was Black. It was a hot topic at the time, and people were offering me all kinds of bennies in order to publish the story with them. I did not at the time because I had competing priorities, and I knew I wouldn't be able to deliver with excellence. Plus, I didn't quite like the terms that were being offered. And I'm not going to knock it if you take the money just because racial issues is a hot topic in the moment. But I didn't like the fact that people who did not care about race before then and today do not care about race anymore, but cared about race temporarily in that moment. I felt like they were trying to use my story as a money grab, and I didn't want to be a part of that. And I have enough financial security that I didn't have to be, which is a really good position to be in. So make sure you understand how those things work when it comes to publishing a book. So let's just say I took one of those offers and they paid me a $5,000 advance. The advance is an advance. It's not payment. So you have to pay it back, and they take it out of your royalties. So for example, if they give you a $5,000 advance and they're going to recoup their cost at $1.25 per book, you say, oh, well, that's great. I'm going to sell the books for $20 a pop. Surely $125 out of every book is great. But if they're going to do it that way, you got to sell 4,000 books before you make any more money off that book sold through them. So it's not always the big money and the big glitz and glamour that you might think. Okay. So in this case, a publisher usually isn't going to send you an advance unless they really buy into the story, or unless you have a very, very good platform, or you have sold on your own self-publishing other books. The next thing I want to talk about is a press kit, and I'm going to stream past. I'm going to go fairly quick through this, because most people watching me today are speakers or authors or aspiring. And so you probably already have some of this stuff around, but you want to put it all in one place as a press kit. One of the things my mentors have taught me and drilled into my head over the years is make it easy for people to pay you. Make it easy for people to pay you, and make it easy for others to refer others who might pay you. And one of the ways we do that is through a press kit. Having a press kit for our book makes it easy for people to understand what the book is about. That lets people and potential publishers understand the theme of our book, the size of our platform on which the book will be marketed, and will gives them some insight into who we are. A lot of times when publishers or venture capitalists or angel investors are investing in your business or your project or your film. They're not just investing in the item, they're investing in you. So it's important to be able to quickly connect them to who you are, because when you resonate with when who you are resonates with who they are more likely to write the checks to finance your projects, to invest in your products, to give the grant to your projects. So you're going to want to have a one sheet that clearly communicates that. You might want to get book cards, which is like a business card for your book. And you're going to want to have some ad copy ready to go. Now, if you're like me and you're not really good with writing ad copy, I thought I was a good writer, so I just knew I'd be good with ad copy. Well, guess what? I am a great writer and I'm a great teacher. But you know what I'm not good at? I'm not good at PR. That's why I appreciate people like Pam Perry PR, because people who are experts at PR, they know how to generate copy that sells. They know how to tweak the little things in your social media and in your way you present yourself to help sell. Okay. So if you're not good at those things, hire someone who is. It'll help you be more. Hire someone who is. It'll help you be more successful. Let me go ahead and say that again. So if you're not good at writing ad copy, and let me tell you how you know you're not good at writing ad copy. All right. You know you're not good at writing ad copy if don't nobody ever share your social media posts. If nobody ever shares your social media posts that you write, then you know you are not good at writing copy that moves people to action. And there is nothing wrong with that. Some of the most powerful people that I have speak in my conferences or write in my books or teach at my retreats are people who are not good at writing ad copy. No shame in that game. Just hire somebody who is. The next thing we want to talk about is interviewed. Now, interviews are an excellent way to market your book. And in fact, if you have already written a book, before you pay somebody else to do all kinds of PR for you, I would invest in, wait a second. How do I want to say that? Before you spend a lot of time paying, let me say that again. Before you spend a lot of time and money paying somebody to get you interviews in this place and that place, I would like to recommend, if you already have written a book, I would like to recommend that you take advantage of the free tips and the free availability of interviews. So for example, one of the things that you can do to help increase your sales prowess is to make sure all of your social media is in alignment with your website and your book. So maybe you, like me, I have books that I have written that do not have my name on them because of social dynamics or the fact of the demographic that they're written to. Okay. Back in the day when I'll admit it, I'm not embarrassed to admit there are certain books I've written that do well when they're written under a male pen name than when they're written under a Black woman's name. All right. And so times are changing and I'm thankful for that. And I have more of a platform now, but I didn't have a platform back then. I needed to make some money. Okay. That's why we're talking about this as part of Juneteenth. But if you have already written a book, before you spend a ton of money on PR or other mechanisms to move that book or getting interviews on this channel or that channel, I want to encourage you to actually look at some of the ways you can get interviewed right around your locality. And so, for example, when I lived in a town where I could easily drive to the TV stations or the radio stations, I found that there were lots of opportunities to get on radio and TV. Now, some of those opportunities I had to create. Some of those opportunities I had to ask about. Some of those opportunities were simply, hey, can you be here at 6:30 in the morning? Why, yes, I can. A lot of podcasts are looking for guests, and you don't have to pay to be a guest on a lot of podcasts or broadcasts. And you can also create your own using social media strategies or creating your own conferences or creating your own book signings. So please, sir, please, ma'am, if you have already written a book or if you are planning to write a book, plan to do these marketing strategies that are at no cost. And many of them can be done before the book is even published. So you can test the battle space. So you can test the market. You want to test the market if you haven't published the book. And if you've already published the book and you've got that storage shed full of 10,000 books you don't know how to sell, here's how you sell it. You can sell it with interviews. I've got a great list of places that will interview you for free and how to find them. Go ahead and text. Ooh, that's an old number, y'all. That's an old number. Okay, I'm going to drop in the chat and then I'm going to highlight it so that you can actually see it over the wrong number, my old number there. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Oh, that doesn't cover it up. Okay, well, the right number is 254-454 HOPE. I guess I better update the slides. You know what? We have so few people on today. If you'll just indulge me for a second, I want to go ahead and update that slide real quick because I don't want to forget the next time I teach that class. Okay. All right. There we go. Let's go back to the broadcast. There we go. There's the right slide. Okay, so let me just see if I can, I hope you guys can see that. Let me take this comment down. So, so if you want to, I think I've said that a couple times, but just because I lost track of where I was, let me go ahead and just say that again. If you are planning on publishing a book, plan to build some of these interview strategies in. And if you are one of those people that already has that storage room full of 10,000 books that you don't know how you're going to sell, then you take advantage of these marketing strategies to get yourself interviewed at no cost before you spend big money with somebody else trying to get you here and there and get those interviews. Because you're going to move a lot of books just from going into these strategies, getting on radio, getting on TV, getting on podcasts, and a lot of these, like I've never had to pay to be on any of these. Okay. You can also create your own interviews using social media or creating your own book signings or creating your own mini conferences. Or sometimes, like one time, I had an author showcase for our Healing My Sister's book that was supposed to be an author showcase at some venue. I forget where it was, but the venue flooded because, you know, tornadoes in Louisiana. The venue flooded and I had to figure out what to do about this showcase. We ended up taking a booth at a trade show and holding the showcase in the middle of this trade show. It worked so well that we continued to do it year after year. So always look always be on the lookout for opportunities like that to create your own marketing. And then once you've generated some cash, then you can look into the pay for play activities. Now, if you would like to get my list of places you can get interviewed without having to pay for it, go ahead and text podcast to 254-454 HOPE. That's 254-454 HOPE. That's my number. It goes directly to this phone. And when I get done teaching tonight, I will send you that list of places you can get interviewed for free. All right. Now, one of the things that I mentioned in being interviewed for free is creating your own. And one of the things I highly encourage authors to create is book signings. I share this with you because I did not know back in the day that you can actually create your own book signings. Okay. So you can create your own book signings and you can get creative about hosting book signings in different places. And all you have to do is ask. So if you know of a place that allows authors to set up, they might charge you a vendor fee, but you set up a vendor fee. I have sold books at many a trade show. Okay. I have sold books at many a trade show and done book signings there. I've done book signings at speaking events. I've done book signings at my own conferences. And honestly, y'all, I created my own conferences. We are about to have our 10th annual Building Wealth Together conference, which is being rebranded with the new website brand of the new podcast branding, Ladies of Wealth. Let me say that again. We are about to have our 10th annual Building Wealth Together conference, which is being rebranded the Ladies of Wealth Conference in conjunction with our new podcast name. Well, I started that conference simply because no one would let me on their stage. And the advice that I received when I got my Dave Ramsey coach program, they used to call it a certification. It's not a certification anymore, but Chris Hogan and Les Now and some of Dave's former staff, they sat down and taught me that here's what you need to do. Get yourself a radio show, get yourself a keynotes, write yourself a book. Find, and I would email them, hey, does Dave Ramsey or Lampo Group have this? And they'd be like, no, I'm going to write it. Funny thing is then they would turn around and create one, but I wrote it first. So I would market that thing like crazy to create my own opportunities. And you can do that with book signings. So what you can do is if you can go into an establishment, it doesn't have to be a bookstore. You can go outside of a shopping mall. You can go inside a shopping mall. One time, I was able to rent space in the shopping mall and actually created an entire expo. So I would have a place to expo my writing. You can go into other establishments or even bookstores. Bookstores is always great because people who are in bookstores came to buy books and they like to read. But it doesn't have to be a bookstore. But what it does have to have is it has to have some basic elements. When you go in to ask to do a book signing, you're going to want to make sure that you have a print copy of the book ready so they can see that you are on your business, because too many authors are like, well, I'm about to publish this. It's on its way. It's being edited. And I'm bad for that, y'all. Something's being edited and then I forget to respond to the editor. Or it's being edited by me and I get excited about a new project. I know none of y'all have ever done that. So you want to make sure you already have the book ready, or you have a firm date that book's going to be in hand. You want to have your one sheet and other promo items. And if possible, you want to make something interactive. People today like interactive workshop-y kinds of things. Those will get you into more spaces that are like conferences and other events than just a book signing. Okay. Also make the book signing about the community. And what I mean by this is if I make the book signing about the community, I am more likely to get support from the community. So for example, when we do our Healing My Sister's book signing in whatever city we're in, we find a charity that supports survivors of domestic violence, and we give them a proceed of the sales of the book. The rest of the proceeds of the sales of the book go to fund domestic violence support where I live, or the places that I've lived and built relationship with. But a significant chunk of the portion of each town's book signing for that book go towards a local agency. And then we present them with a check. We present them with a check of sorts at the event. And then after the sales have actually happened, we present them with the real check, and it helps build goodwill in the community. So if you don't already have community purchase, you don't already have relationships to leverage, make what you're doing about the community, and the community will be more likely to support your book signing. Okay. And that kind of goes hand in hand to my last suggestion here. Get on their agenda, understand what their goals are before asking them to get on yours. So if you're going to, like we had a place downtown that did like gourmet hot chocolate, and they had a little open mic section, and I wanted to come do my books. Well, doing my books really doesn't do anything for them. A book signing doesn't really do anything for them, but an author showcase where each author gets up on stage and talks about their books. Now I'm understanding what the goals of that establishment are. And I'm merging my goals with their goals. I'm getting on their agenda before I expect them to get on my agenda. And it works almost every time. Like I said before, you can create your own book signings, and don't hesitate on any opportunity. In fact, we get 3 yard sales a year in Stephenville, Texas. You can have 3 yard sale permits a year. And you know what? I'm not ashamed to admit that there are times where I will set up a yard sale simply so I can sell my books right outside my home. Now that I have the office and everything, I don't need to do that as often. But you will never underestimate the power of doing what you can do when you can do it. See, a lot of us don't move forward in life because we look at all these things that we can't do, and we get discouraged because of these things that we can't do. And what we don't realize, what we fail to realize, is that if we would do what we can do, what we can do will take us a lot further and open up more doors for us than just being sad and despondent about what we can't do. And maybe you don't have a trade show you can vend at. Maybe you don't have a flea market you can vend at. Maybe none of the bookstores will let you set up a book signing. Right? Maybe none of the local churches will let you come in and do a ladies class, or maybe none of the nonprofit organizations will let you come in. I mean, Rotary is always looking for speakers, right? And Kiwanis and the chamber, and depending on the chamber where you live, a lot of these organizations, these civic organizations, are always looking for speakers. And maybe you don't sell anything there, but maybe you can hand out your book card, the little business card that you make for your book. Okay. So always be on the lookout for opportunities, and don't be afraid to leverage what you can do into something that you can't do. Maybe you can't find a way to get a book signing at a bookstore, but you can get to speak at a Rotary. And when you go speak at the Rotary, someone was going to resonate with your story, and then they're going to book you to come into their organization, or they're going to open the door for you to have a book signing. It's the way the world works. Always do what you can do and let everything else fall into place. The next thing I want to talk about is a book anthology. And some people love book anthologies and other people don't love book anthologies. Now, y'all, I've talked to you a little bit about some of the book anthologies that I've had. I've written 13 books that I've written. And some of them, like this Think and Grow Rich, is a study guide for what somebody else already wrote, right? But some of these other ones, these are my books, okay? These are my books that I've written. And so you might say, well, JJ Conway, why would you ever be in a book anthology? Well, let me tell you, there are still times today that I will be in a book anthology, even though I've written several books, because being in the book anthology allows me to connect with the other authors, or it allows me to quote unquote, share the stage with those other authors and bigger names than I normally have access to, or because it opens up a door for me to get in certain spaces with the other authors. There are a lot of reasons why I might book into a book anthology, even though I've published several of my own books. Okay. And so let me talk a little bit about what is an anthology and why you want to be in it. Okay. A book anthology is a collection of stories from other people, and creating a book anthology and participating in a book anthology. Let me say that again. Participating in a book anthology is an excellent way to get started in writing. You know, you've got a story, you know, you've got talent, you know, you've got something to say, you know, the world needs to hear it, but you're just not sure how to get that message out. Participating in a book anthology is one of the ways that you can do that. Now, interestingly, I don't have any of my own anthologies here. You know, I'm moving into this office. I'm moving into this office, and some of those anthologies are at home, and some of them are just sold out. Like, I need to get another run. But I do have, nope, this is not it. I do have back there, and I would go grab them. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can grab one. Hang on. I'll put this one back. Oh, here we go. This is a good one. All right. And nope, that's not the one I thought it was. Well, that's what happens when you plan something at the last minute. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, all right. So that's what happens when you plan something on the fly. Sometimes it doesn't work the way you want it. So this is an anthology done by one of my favorite speakers, Elizabeth Clamon. She speaks on finding your story, finding your voice, and crafting your story in a way that's sellable. And a lot of my early events were done with her, and a lot of her early events were done with me. And so one of the first ways that the Lord showed me that I really do have a talent for interviewing and for executing an event was one time when I actually stood in the gap for her. I forget what it was that she couldn't interview people for one of her events, but I was able to stand in the gap, and including one where I couldn't find a place to record. So I actually found a cornfield in my travels, and I just parked there until it was time for the interview. And I've interviewed that person with the cornfields behind me. It was one of the best interviews I've ever done. But she puts together anthologies on occasion, and this one's called Fiercely Faithful. And so what an anthology is it's basically a collection of people's chapters that they put together. So what you see inside here, I'm not in this one, I don't think. I don't remember if I am or not. I'm in some of her others, but you see that each person has their own chapter, okay? Each person has their own chapter in this book collection. And that is considered an anthology. It's a collection of varied writings all along one topic. And so the anthology is a very powerful strategy if you've never written a book before, or if you don't understand how to publish a book and you want to move forward in your business, but you don't have time to learn the book publishing business. This is a great way to learn the book publishing business. When you publish in an anthology, there are ways to maximize it. So like, for example, those of you who were on with me earlier today, we did an author showcase for those who participated in my Juneteenth Legacy anthology. And so that Juneteenth Legacy anthology, one of the ways that those speakers leverage it is to come onto the showcase, talk about their chapter, and then they get to be highlighted. They get that video content to use in their marketing, and it exposes their work to a greater audience through the broadcast. So you definitely, if you participate in an anthology, you don't want to just participate by sending in your things, but you want to make sure that you market your chapter. Okay, you want to make sure that you market your chapter, market your chapter, market your chapter. Now, please don't do what some people did. I used to run the Black Queens Matter book club, and for like 2 years, once a month, I would interview Black authors, Black women authors, and invariably someone would sneak in who was an anthology author of a chapter, but they weren't the author on the front of the book, okay? If you're not the author on the front of the book, it is okay to not be the author on the front of the book, but please don't front like you're the author on the front of the book. Now, if you want to become the author on the front of the book, several reputable anthology programs like the one we do for Juneteenth Legacy, Voices of Legacy, will give you the opportunity to upgrade into a special run that allows you to put your name on the front cover as a co-author with me, which means that you get a special edition of the book with your details on the front. And so when you go to sell that book, it's your book. It's got your name on it. And so for me, that's a very, very valuable tool. And I still remember the first time that I had access to something like that. It was through the Women Speakers Association, and they were charging a very hefty price for their book compilation. And I was really nervous about going into paying so much money when I had already, at that time, I think I had written 7 books at that time, but I just felt led by the Spirit to do it. And I'm one of those people that even if it costs money or even if it's uncomfortable, if I feel led to do it, I'm going to do it. Well, imagine my surprise when that book came out and it had my name on the cover as a co-author. And so now I understood why they charge so much, because they got to produce a special run of those books. They've got the main book, but they got to produce a special run for each author who bought into that package. And so you can do that as well with an anthology. Many anthologies won't do that because it takes a lot of extra time and effort and expense. So if you find one like our Juneteenth Legacy, Voices of Legacy, that will allow you to be a co-author, I encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity. All right. Another thing that I will recommend when it comes to leveraging, excuse me. Another thing I'll recommend when it comes to maximizing an anthology is to really connect with and, in a sense, find an area where you can lead fellow authors. Okay. Maybe you are going to be the one that creates a book showcase or a book signing. We had one anthology I participated in. One of the fellow authors created a book highlight with her chamber. Her chamber did a book thing every quarter, and she allowed us, I forget what they called it, like a book study. It wasn't really a study because we spoke. Like it was a highlight, it was a feature, but she put that together. Some other people will find themselves taking notes during the anthology speaker meetings, and others will still put together mini events, pop-up events in different towns, and they will become that leader. If you become that leader, then now that gives you extra leverage amongst your fellow authors, which can lead you to more lucrative opportunities down the line. Okay. One thing I also recommend if you are participating in an anthology, and even with our Juneteenth Legacy anthology, if you are participating in an anthology, I encourage you to create your own pre-order page on your website or using free tools such as PayPal or Facebook Marketplace or Stripe. Stripe will let you create a landing page. So Stripe connects right to your book, your banking account. Stripe connects right to your banking account. It'll allow you to create a little checkout form page. It won't be fancy. It won't be all those things, but it'll be there. Square will allow you to create a checkout page for your book. You want to pre-order as much as possible. So even in an anthology, generally speaking, unless you get the upgrade to share your name on the cover with whoever's putting that anthology together, and most don't offer that like we do. Even if you do that, the main anthology that gets launched on launch day and gets sold on Amazon for 99 cents or whatever it is, so that you can hit that #1 bestseller status, that anthology is not going to have your signature on it. It's not going to have your autograph on it. So what you can do is produce a pre-order page where your friends, family, and audience can go ahead and pre-order shipped copies of the book that you have signed. And if you do a pre-order page, then when it comes time to order your author copies beyond what normally just comes in an anthology project, you will have a good idea of how many to order. One of the things that breaks my heart as a financial planner is when people come in and they've bought 5,000 books because they just knew everybody was going to buy them. And then their mom buys one and their grandma buys one, and maybe their sister or brother buys one and their bestie buys one, but then they've got all these books to sell. Well, if you had done a pre-order page, you would have had a better understanding of who is interested in buying the book. And you can do a pre-order page for an electronic book as well. But make sure you check with the anthology provider, because most anthologies do not allow you to sell the Kindle or electronic version unless you have, like we do, unless you have participated in the offer to add yourself as either a co-author or add yourself as add yourself on the cover. All right. So you want to make sure that you check with that firsthand, but as long as you're going to be provided an electronic copy of that book, you can sell them. As long as your agreement doesn't preclude that, you can pre-sell the electronic copy and you can pre-sell the signed copies. I like to pre-sell my signed copies in advance for a launch because I'm here to make money, not lose money. All right. All right. Let's see. Okay, some other great ideas. I've kind of talked about this actually throughout the entire time we spent today. Oops, you can't see that slide. Hold on. There it is. I've already talked about these ideas woven in and out of everything else that we've discussed today. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide. If you're coming into this training late, you can go back and get the recording. You can go back and actually listen to how I talk about creating your own book fairs, your own conferences, signings, events, and things like that. All right, all right. Well, there you have it. How to actually make money writing a book, how to make your first $1,000 writing your book. I hope that you have enjoyed this. Now, if you already have a book that's been written, you could implement any of these strategies to help move those copies out of your garage and out of your storage shed and into somebody else's pocket so their money can end up in your pocket. And if you haven't published your book yet, but you're in the process of writing it, I hope that you will take these strategies to heart and build them into the marketing plan for your book before you publish your book so that you can publish a book that will work with the marketing plan. See, if you already know that you're going to need to go to trade shows or you're going to need to book signings, and in order to book signings, you need a juicy one sheet, then that helps you create, as you're writing the book, the kind of content excerpts that you would then put into the one sheet, that you would then put into your book card, that you would then put into marketing the book. So all of that foundation is laid before the book is published. I hope you've enjoyed this bonus training today. I'm JJ Conway, and you can find me at JJ Knows the Way. I want to encourage you to I want to encourage you to participate more in our Juneteenth Legacy Summit. And if you liked this training, this is going to be one of the bonus trainings. It's going to come off of social media soon. It's going to be one of the bonus trainings that you will find inside the Juneteenth Legacy recordings from this conference event. I'm JJ Conway. Y'all take care and be blessed.